Picture a short track in the North Carolina hills that time nearly forgot. Worn pavement, tight corners, no fancy amenities, just raw, old-school racing the way it used to be. Now picture 6 drivers left on the lead lap by the final stage, a caution that traps half the field a lap down, and a 2-time champion clawing his way out of a slump that had lasted 45 races. That's the story that unfolded at North Wilkesboro Speedway, and it's a story about survival as much as it is about speed. Joey Logano came into this race in trouble, 15th in the standings, under real pressure to make the 16-driver chase field with only 5 races left on the calendar. For a driver with 3 championships to his name, that's not where you expect to be sitting in late summer. But on this night, none of that mattered once the green flag dropped. Logano ran a flag-to-flag final stage, led the most laps of anyone on the track, and held off a hard-charging Denny Hamlin through a field littered with lap traffic. It wasn't easy. Hamlin and his crew chief tried everything they had. They gambled on an early pit stop, hoping to leapfrog Logano before he made his own stop, a move veterans call an undercut. For a moment, it looked like it might work. But Logano came in a lap later and drove right back out in front, and from there, the race was his to lose. I was hoping maybe they'd slip up and give us another lap, Hamlin's crew chief admitted afterward, because I felt like we were pretty even. Hamlin himself put it simply, the 2 cars were running the exact same lap times. There just wasn't enough separation to make a pass without contact. Sometimes in racing, that's the difference between winning and finishing second. Not a mistake, not a mechanical failure, just a few tenths of a second you can't find. For Logano, breaking that losing streak was about more than just a trophy. It moved him up to 15th in points and 49 points above the cutoff line, enough breathing room to actually believe in a championship run again. And in victory lane, he didn't sugarcoat how brutal the year had been leading up to this moment. I don't know how anyone can struggle like we did this year and not doubt whether we're doing this right. Logano said, whether we're ever going to win again. That's a stunning admission from a driver with his resume, someone who's already climbed to the top of the sport twice. But it's also what makes this win land differently. He talked about the hard conversations with his team, the kind where nobody has answers, where all you can do is look inward and ask what you're missing. He called them real conversations, human conversations, not the polished, confident sound bites drivers give when the cameras are rolling and everything's going well. What's remarkable is how he described his team's identity through all of it, even-keeled, he called them. Not rattled by the highs, not crushed by the lows. He said that's their biggest strength, and that this exact kind of pressure, must win, must perform, backs against the wall pressure, is where his team has historically operated best. Whether that holds up over the next 5 races remains to be seen, but Sunday night was proof of concept. Logano wasn't the only driver making a statement on that surface. Shane Van Gisbergen, still relatively new to full-time NASCAR racing after dominating supercars in his native New Zealand, turned in one of the most eye-opening performances of the night. He started 8th, worked his way to the front, and actually took the lead away from Hamlin at one point during the race. His reaction over the radio, once he realized he was leading, was pure and unfiltered, a mix of disbelief and adrenaline that had nothing rehearsed about it. Van Gisbergen finished the night, one of only 6 cars on the lead lap, and he sits 14th in the standings now, 54 points clear of the cut line. He credits his road racing background for why a bullring like North Wilkesboro suits him. He even experimented mid-race with braking technique borrowed straight from road course driving, something most oval racers would never try. His words afterward captured exactly why he's become such a fascinating watch this season. He said the racing up front felt calmer, more respectful, describing a moment where he passed Hamlin, got loose, and simply let him back by rather than force the issue. That's not the mentality of someone just trying to survive in NASCAR. That's someone starting to read the sport at a genuinely elite level. Then there's the track itself, which deserves its own part of the story. North Wilkesboro's pavement is only a few years old since the track's return to the Cup schedule, But it's already starting to wear in the way old-school short tracks are supposed to: wider grooves, real tire degradation, lap times falling off just enough to matter. Hamlin broke it down in specific terms: cars firing off in the low 18ths and fading into the low 19ths by the end of a run. 0.4 of a second doesn't sound like much until you're the one trying to use it to make a pass. Logano understands exactly what this track means to the people who fill the grandstands here. He talked about the fans as diehards, people who know this isn't a brand new, amenity-packed superspeedway and don't care. They came for exactly this: an old-school race at an old-school track, the kind NASCAR ran in the 80s before short tracks started disappearing from the schedule altogether. Logano said the sport needs to remember those fans are the backbone of everything, and that bringing a night like this back to life means more to them than almost anything else on the calendar. There's a bigger picture forming here, too. NASCAR has moved away from the old win-and-you're-in playoff format, which means Logano's win doesn't punch an automatic ticket the way it might have in years past. It simply buys him room, points in the bank, a cushion above danger. He and his team openly admitted they're not championship contenders yet, not with where they're currently sitting. But they also pointed to history, specifically Tony Stewart's title run back in 2011 when he entered the postseason far from a favorite and simply peaked at the right time. Logano's math is straightforward: keep scoring stage points, keep finishing inside the top 10, and claw back into the top 10 in points before the real postseason begins. It's not a guarantee, it's a plan. And after the year his team has had, a plan with a pulse is worth more than empty confidence. What made North Wilkesboro compelling wasn't just who won. It was watching two very different stories collide on the same worn asphalt: a proven champion fighting to remember who he is, and a rising talent discovering just how far his instincts can take him on tracks nobody expected him to master this quickly. Two drivers, two totally different points in their careers, both leaving that short track with real momentum heading into the stretch run. 5 races remain before the chase field is set. For Logano, that's 5 races to turn one great night into a genuine championship case. For Van Gisbergen, it's 5 more chances to prove that what happened at North Wilkesboro wasn't a fluke, but a preview of what he's about to become in this sport. And for the fans who packed that old track under the lights, it was simply a reminder of why short track racing captured hearts in the first place. Before the story of who wins, it's always been about who's willing to fight the hardest to get there.